And we're live. What's up, my friend?
Hey, Travis. Hey, everybody.
Look at you.
Happy,
Looking spiffy this morning. Combed your hair, got dressed.
Got a haircut.
You did get a haircut. And you smuggled somebody in again?
Yeah, illegally. The hairdresser came. As a matter of fact, I asked her, I go, well, we'll be back in your salon pretty soon. She's like, well, I don't know. Coming here works out pretty good because, Debbie plies her with vodka. So
hey, that's a good way to pay.
Yeah, that's what we still pay. But and she might be listening, so thanks a lot, Tiffany. Appreciate it. So.
When you said illegal, is she illegal, or because you got the haircut in your house, that was illegal?
I think that's probably still illegal. She's legal. Hey, easy now, because her last name is Villanueva, so let's not. Oops, sorry, did I say that live? That's okay.
That's all right. She's going to get all kinds of business now.
That's right. She's the best hairdresser ever. I think I've only been. Of course, it's only been a while. I think I've only been going to her for 25 years or something like that. So.
I would have to say maybe. I don't know her, but we'll probably give her the prize of second best. I'll say I'm married. I'm married to the first best.
Oh, that's right. That's right. No offense, Megan. Does Megan listen to this ever? Do you play it for her? Or,
she would
no?
not. No, she's had enough of me. She has enough of me during the day. She doesn't want to to relive it on the podcast. Funny. But I have offered to have her come on multiple times, and I'll break her down eventually. We'll get her on.
Okay,
but
good.
I think that would be the only chance we have for her to actually listen to what we have to say here is to have her come on.
Oh my God! I should have came over to your studio this morning, and then maybe we could have invited her in. But then the kids have to come, and
they're going to dominate it. Yeah, we have some news on the studio. I'll fill you in later.
Oh, okay, good.
But what you were saying, if you were to compensate your hairdresser with just vodka. Is that okay if she accepts those terms?
Wow. So I'd have to give her like 3 or 4 bottles.
I'm not saying she's not expensive. I'm just saying, is it acceptable? I say that because I took a shellacking on Twitter in the last day or so about some capitalistic rants that I went on. And this was all leading up to the stimulus package being passed, which it looks like there's movement there. But you know me. I mean, I'm not opposed to giving people support, but I do have strong feelings about capitalism and actually what generates money. So I made a couple comments, and people were responding back about, government does create jobs, high-paying jobs, and it actually is a generator of wealth and reduces unemployment, which couldn't be further from the truth.
You mean people are actually responding to your Twitter stuff? Because no matter what I put on Twitter, nobody ever says shit.
Well, I think you have to stoke the fire a little bit. And apparently,
I don't have any followers.
Apparently, I got under some people's skin, which is good because there was some good debate, which is really all we ever talk about, is the fact that we can't think the same thing, can't say the same thing. We have to have diversity of thought to flesh out ideas, good and bad, and then hopefully ultimately come to some type of a resolution about how to live life as humans on this rock. But in a nutshell, somebody was saying that the government is the only creator of money, currency. So therefore, the government is responsible for jobs, job creation, and payment of jobs, which couldn't be further from the truth. These are basically idiots who have no understanding of
I don't know if I'd agree with that.
How economies work. But I made the comment that, no, we all possess our own currency by way of the value of our labor that we are willing to trade for something of value in return, whether it is currency in the form of a U.S. dollar, could be a South African rand, could be Bitcoin, or, as you have illustrated this morning, it could be vodka.
Could be vodka.
So it really doesn't matter as long as you are being compensated for the value of your labor.
Well, the only thing about the person that responded to you on Twitter that I could agree with in that statement that you laid out is that the government is the one that prints the money, so they do make the money.
Well, they print the money, although that's interesting too, because when did we go off the gold standard? Was it 1970?
Oh my God, I don't know.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And maybe, I think you and I have talked about this off the air, but I am not smart enough to figure out if, that made sense, if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, before that, what? The value of money, at least in the U.S., the value of the dollar was backed up by physical gold that we possess, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's the case anymore.
Right. That was the transition off of the gold standard at that time. And so, but now we have this, you're right, the government prints the money. They make money. It doesn't matter if you have deficits, if you have, I mean, you and I both have a business background, so on our quote-unquote balance sheets, if you have more liabilities than assets, if you owe more money than you're worth, you're kind of fucked. That's kind of a bad thing. But,
well, therein lies the basic premise why, running the government is not the same as running a business.
There should be some parallels, though, I guess, because otherwise we can just print free money. I mean, fuck, what if...
Oh, no, you can print money. I mean, the government can print as much money as they want to print.
Would you be okay...
limit.
We talked about the stimulus and direct payments to citizens. Would you be okay for citizens deciding about how they want to collect that money? In other words, you have a choice, right? You can take $1,400 in cash, or you can take, say, $400 in vodka and $1,000 in cash. Are you in favor of people deciding how to be compensated?
Well, I think that's already the case, right? Because you can get $1,400 from the government in the new COVID relief plan that's going to be passed here pretty quick, one way or the other. And you can take that $1,400 from Uncle Joe, and you can put $400 in the bank, and you can buy $1,000 worth of vodka. So it's kind of irrelevant, right?
Do you have to pay tax on that money? Did we establish that?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I don't know either. I mean, I've read certain things about how, let's say you owe money, maybe it's back taxes or back child support, that on paper, let's say you qualify for the stimulus, they would technically issue it to you, but don't actually give it to you because you owe the money elsewhere. So I don't know.
Is that what they're doing? I mean,
are
they garnishing?
I think there's a garnishment involved if you have one of those qualifying circumstances. I could be wrong. But,
well, I mean, it's income, so I think, really, it probably should be taxed. I mean, if it's income and you get taxed on your income, I don't know why it wouldn't be taxed. I mean, I could see why you might not want it to be taxed. But, I mean, ours is, I know the money we received last go around, no money was taken out of it. So do I have to pay taxes on it eventually? Probably. That's a tax question.
You'll know if you get a 1099.
I'll find out, from the government?
Yeah.
Maybe. Debbie recently got what the hell was it? She got what's your W-2? She got a W-2 from her she's been retired for the better part of like 4 years, right? Mm-hmm. So she got a W-2 from her former employer for 2020.
Yes, she would get.
You know why?
Well, did she have income last year?
Well, only because she cast out some. She what's the right term? She had some stock options that she exercised,
right?
But she didn't realize that would end up generating a W-2 for her. So that was kind of interesting.
But still, so she got the stock options. She didn't pay tax, right? She just traded the stock, and then they didn't withhold tax on the payment, so that would be just capital gains, I think.
Well, they sent her. In the W-2 there was withholdings.
There was, okay.
Yeah, so that was kind of interesting. So they evidently, I think they looked at, because she made a profit, right, or something on exercising them. So
how much GameStop?
I don't want to give out too much information, right?
How much GameStop stock did they give her?
Yeah. Well, what's the right term if you have tens of dollars? How much?
Tens of dollars? You're tens in air?
I mean, we're definitely thousandaires. So
right.
There's no problem with that. So,
are you making any progress in your Obama book?
Not since you and I chatted about it yesterday. I haven't had a chance to read anything, but I am so looking forward to reading it kind of fast, because there's actually multiple people now, including you, that I know have read the book. So I'd like to be able to discuss it intelligently. Right now, I can only say that the preface is pretty good.
Well, I hope I didn't spoil the end telling you where the book
No,
kind of ends
no,
up.
that's okay.
But
for the listeners, let me clue you in on something that I don't think when we talked about this book in the past that didn't come out. But as soon as you read the the beginning of the book, you're going to hear President Obama talk about how actually former President Obama.
you still retain the title as Mr. President, right?
Yeah, if you're addressing him, but
are we going to call Trump Mr. President?
I'm never going to call him Mr. President.
If he gets convicted of a crime, does he get stripped of his title of Mr. President or former president?
I don't think so. No, I think Mr. Jailbird President.
If he goes to jail, will he have Secret Service in the jail so he doesn't get, knifed and?
Well, he can't go to jail for the Senate stuff, but there's a distinct possibility he could go to jail sometime in the future. And I got a feeling he's going to be in solitary confinement. That's probably what he has to look forward to. Because
I was reading something about what's Trump been up to in the last however long he's been out of the media, and basically,
what is it?
Well, he's been up to what did it say? He's been writing a list of complaints and grievances that he has against various people, and then having close family tweet it for him because he can't tweet it, which sounds about right for him.
Oh my God, it's so sad. So, yeah. So Rachel Maddow, one of our favorites, has been talking about how apparently he won't let anybody in the Trumposphere refer to him as former President Trump. So everything. So he has to respond through his lawyers that he's managed to finally con into coming on board with him, even though he probably won't pay him. I mean, as soon as they figure it out, as soon as these lawyers figure out they're not going to pay him unless they think there's some
don't they already know that? If you get into business with Trump, don't you kind of know it's pro bono? You're not going to get paid?
The previous group of lawyers that all quit a week ago didn't figure it out till they'd been on board for 2 weeks. And then they're like, hey, wait a minute. He's not going to pay us, right? He never pays the lawyers. So... And most of his lawyers end up in jail or being sued.
Like on that Stormy Daniels thing, I know we talked about it, but would you ever consider for any client or any business you were in to refinance your own house to come up with money to pay for any service, legitimate or not? Remember that dude took out a HELOC on his house to pay the hush money to Stormy Daniels. But even if it was for something like, hey, we're going to invest in a new business, it's a startup, it's legitimate, but we don't have the cash. We need you to refi your house. No. I mean, who would do that?
No. Michael Cohen you're talking
yes.
about doing that? Yeah. No, but he was dedicated. And, he is enjoying the fruits of that dedication now being an ex-con. So,
well, but just you were saying,
God.
If the Trumposphere, he wants to make sure everybody refers to him as Mr. President. That's what I'm saying. That's kind of common courtesy.
No. 45th President Donald J. Trump. That's how he has forced his current lawyers and everybody that refers to him in public. That's in his sphere, right? Friends, family, whatever, lawyers. They all have to refer to him as 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. The whole thing.
So when he comes into the room, instead of like
welcome
Melania, it's like, good morning, honey, how are you? It's good morning, Mr. Donald J. Trump.
You know what? I have it on good authority that she still just refers to him as tiny, like she always has.
He does have tiny hands.
Oh my God!
I don't know if that's
there. I am cracking myself up. So,
okay. So you were saying Obama. He was talking about. You said.
Here's
Obama.
Former President Obama. It tells us in the very beginning of the book that this 600+ page book, A Promised Land, is just the first of 2 volumes. So after you drop your $25 on this book, if you don't know this, then you find out that you're probably going to have to drop another $25 to see how it ends.
Was that a bad thing?
$25.
It's worth $25.
I'll spend $50 to read his thoughts on his presidency. But, for some people, of course, you can always wait till, it's a paperback or something right now.
But don't you enjoy, I was talking to my wife about this the other day. She reads a lot, and we probably couldn't even store all the books that she reads, and she's reading them on Kindle or on the Kindle app, but I enjoy a physical book. And I like, for a book like his, I like the hardbound books.
Yeah.
Same thing with like Nelson Mandela's book. When I read that, I bought it at Robben Island.
Name dropper.
Well, listen, it was a story I always wanted to read. And I had gone to visit Robben Island where he was incarcerated for, I think, 27 years. And so I bought it when I was there. And I started it in South Africa. And so reading that book, having just been there, purchasing it there, and feeling the pages and the smells, I still enjoy an actual book that way,
So I just read, prior to getting former President Obama's book, I just read 5 paperbacks in a matter of like 2 weeks. So,
more toilet reading?
Yeah. And so they were, they were not large paperbacks. So just think of your basic paperback book size. So to go from that to have a full size hardbound book, President Obama's book, it's really nice. So, I mean, that's not going to stop me from reading paperbacks.
Sure,
the thing that usually stops me from reading hardbound books is that they cost so much.
And they're heavy. I mean, there was a time before this COVID bullshit that I was traveling all the time, and I would travel with a couple of books. But you can't really travel with a book like Obama's and have any other kind of luggage, with you and without breaking your back. But the reason I brought it up is, again, not as a spoiler, but we were talking the other day about one of the last stories that he covers in that book is the assassination of Bin Laden. And you always hear about these cool, like Hollywood type Mission Impossible secret missions, how they put together these assassination attempts or rescue missions or whatever. And we all, I think, kind of know the story by now. But I didn't realize that, the code name that they had for him. And when remember they found him at this compound in Pakistan.
Yeah.
And they had given him a code name based on some of the intelligence that they found, and they referred to him as the Pacer. Because
the Pacer.
Because
that's right. You brought this up the other day.
Yeah, which it was.
I didn't know what you were talking about.
Well, it was interesting because they had information on the courier. Remember the story about the dude who was? Well, first there was this compound. It was very, very large, and it was not comparable,
like
to
a block away from the Afghani police station or something.
Well, the equivalent to our version of West Point. Yeah, I mean, it was a huge next to a military institution, but it was also a private residence.
Was it in Afghanistan?
No, Pakistan.
Oh, Pakistan. That's right. So it was close to the Pakistani police
military.
School.
Yes, but it was. There's also other neighboring residences that obviously don't compare to the size of this giant compound. So the scale of it alone kind of threw them off. And then there was this courier who they later discovered had connections to Bin Laden. And then they found him multiple times going back and forth. And then there was no trash that came out of there. They were always burning their trash. And so they had some suspicions, right? It was basically circumstantial evidence. And then they tried to get, as much aerial footage as they could. They started to be able to get things like head counts, how many people were actually there, and I think it was in the 20s, including how many women and children, and then so that number started to match up with what they knew was in Obama's family. And then
not Obama's family.
Bin Laden, Osama, I meant. It's funny because he references that too. How his name sounds so much like it.
Biden?
Yeah, Biden. But then this tall figure emerges, and some of the aerial surveillance picks it up. It's too far away to make out that it's him, but it is this tall, slender guy with a beard, and they see him in the courtyard of the compound, and all he's doing basically is pacing back and forth. And they can't tell if he's, on some secret phone or if he's got people with him, but they refer to him as the Pacer. So they started watching this from an intelligence perspective, and so all of these pieces they put together, including the fact that they had a physical ID on this Pacer gentleman, they used as essentially their basis for going ahead with the mission. And so you get all the details later as far as how they pieced together the mission and what they were going to do, but all that stuff combined gave them the confidence, at least above a 50-50 threshold, that okay, this is our guy and we're going to go in and get him. So
wow.
Be careful if you're out there with your thoughts and pacing, I guess.
When this is probably the thing about our age difference again. When you brought up Pacer the other day, do you know what I thought of?
Pacemaker?
No, thanks for that.
I'm not saying you need one.
Yeah, right. This is about as bad. So the American Motors vehicle from the 70s or something, right? The Pacer.
Did you have one?
So, no. I've never been an American Motors or Dodge fan, so I've never had any of those really odd vehicles like Pacers or Gremlins or Ramjet trucks. Right?
Does it surprise you, even we're up to 2021 at this point, and we still have like the Dodge, what is it, Challenger, and they got another one. It's a car, right? A muscle car. Dodge Challenger.
Yeah, Challenger and Charger.
Charger. And they're still making fucking like 700-800 horsepower motors. You know, these are gas engines.
Not still making. They're making that, right? That's a very much, 2000s kind of horsepower, right? The Challenger or Charger from what the hell was it, the 70s or 80s, probably was 300 or 400 horsepower, which was top of the hill back then. But the stupid horsepower that these cars make now, it's stupid high, right?
Part of me thinks, listen, I usually kind of get cast in the bucket of the, Republican freedom. Let's, dig up all the oil in the earth and burn it and fuck the world.
What do you think that, since you have a truck that gets 2 miles a gallon?
No, I sold it. I don't have it anymore.
Oh, you got rid of it?
It was a utility vehicle. I used it for towing.
Well, don't you have your does your current truck meet your needs for your? Don't you have a fifth wheel or something?
Now I got rid of it.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So, but that's the point. Is when we talk about technological advances and climate change, and the government's role in driving the technology, I think that those are good conversations. However, you have to look at all of the applications. So, this push for autonomous vehicles and battery-powered vehicles, those are all great things that we have today and probably in the next 5 years, 10 years for transportation A to B. But we don't yet have really good technology for things like heavy-duty equipment. So all of the cargo that ships across this country by truck, we don't have the capacity for long-distance heavy loads to be able to tow. And then all this, there's ocean freight to deal with, there's air transport, and then there's the recreation business, whether it's boating or RVing or whatever. And so if you kill, say, the diesel engine, you take away the ability to build those and or buy those in certain states, what becomes of those industries without a replacement? So that's the kind of shit that scares me. However, when I look at a Dodge Charger or a Challenger that in 2021 we're still, pumping out these gas-guzzling 800 horsepower motors, part of me is just like, keep that on the fucking down low. Let's not tell anybody about it because we don't want to draw attention to ourselves.
I honestly don't know what kind of gas mileage per se those, 600 plus horsepower engines get. It has the
sure,
advancement.
It's fucking great. 50 miles a gallon, I would bet.
Well, it would certainly mean that electric vehicles were farther down the road if you're getting 50 miles a gallon with a 600 or 700 horsepower vehicle. But I don't think that's the case. I think it's my truck gets about 12, and it ain't no 700 horsepower. So
no, and the newer version of that today would probably be, well, I think they even have standards, but it probably would be somewhere at 18 or 20, something like that.
And I'll have to check, because my truck is 2011 now already, if you can believe that. So it seems like yesterday, but
and that
we just go ahead.
That's why I worry about things like a mandate of miles per gallon increases with vehicles, and or like what we had in California, where Newsom says no more gas vehicles being sold into the state by 2035. That sounds great. If we had a complete replacement for all of our needs, I'd get behind that, but we don't now. So it is scary to think that we're going to take this, whatever that was, executive order, on a leap of faith that between now and 2035 we'll have complete replacement for A to B transportation, heavy cargo transportation, recreation, and everything in between. And I don't know that that's possible.
Well, I think that, number one, if you get to 2035 and you don't have replacements for those things that you're talking about, that's going to be dealt with. They're not going to, all.
When you say dealt with, is that a threat on Newsom? Are we dealing with him? Oh no, that's not what you meant.
He won't be around 2035.
Let's hope not.
He'll be I don't know. He'll be
If he loses,
he'll be the French Laundry.
Yeah, it would be hosting parties. If he
Yeah.
loses his job here in California, do you see any chance that that guy can make a successful presidential run later on?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, it's hard for me because I dislike him so much. And that's not because he's a Democrat. It's because I just don't like him, and that's because I'm living in California. So, and in the particular business that, I've made my livelihood in, he's certainly the Antichrist. So, we'll see how that goes. I don't see him or Mayor Yoga Pants in LA or,
Who's Mayor Yoga Pants?
Garcetti.
He wears yoga pants?
Yes.
He does?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You got to listen to John and Ken show. I don't listen to them anymore because they're idiots now, but they used to be pretty funny. And that was that's a nickname they coined for him because, I don't know, he was somewhere running or doing yoga or something, and they latched onto it. But I mean, let's think about it. Where's Villa Rugosa? Gone. Dead to the world, yeah. Right? He's out of politics. I mean, of course, that has a lot more to do with his shitty performance at, I don't know, what was it, the 2012 Democratic Convention or something where he was an idiot.
Which is, that's funny too, because we've seen that, in our industry where the up and comers, you give them a public forum to get out there and, be seen publicly and make a rally or say something intelligent. And without naming names, you and I can think of some people that have crashed and burned given that opportunity.
Well, I think that so as much as you hate the COVID, and we all do.
Yeah, I'm an extremist. We established
soon to be canceled. One of the things that has done for us is brought both Garcetti and the governor Newsom on television so much that we've all seen what jackasses they are and how irritating they are when they talk, that I think they're done already. I think that their overexposure via the COVID news conferences or daily briefings or whatever the hell you want to call them over the last year has probably killed their career, just like it's probably killed Cuomo.
Do you think that given the last 4 years, whether it's, I say 4 years because we just came off of Trump, but whether it's the last 4 years or the last 1 year with COVID, do you think that most of the country is more engaged in politics these days more than ever? I get that feeling.
That's a really interesting question to me. I think currently that many people are kind of just letting out a long sigh and taking a break.
A sigh or a steamer? Could be both.
I don't know what a steamer is, so I'm just going to say, a long sigh.
There's a certain type of fetish, There's all kinds of fetishes out there. Steamers, squat cobblers,
Don't know. Sorry. Oh, wow. I have no idea what kind of trouble we're in right now. So, at any rate, I think that I think people are kind of, so it's hard because I've become a political, junkie over the last 10 years or so, where I never was before. And so I think that why do you
think that is?
Why did I become a political junkie?
So go back 10 years. What was it around that time?
I just have for one thing, I have more time. I mean, it was,
But do you really? The clock is going the other way. So, the
clock is going the other way.
Well,
I don't have more.
The clock.
I don't
have
life,
more time.
I don't have more time ahead of me. I just have.
Oh, I see.
More. I've had more time to. How do I say that? Because I thought about it a little bit. I've had more time to pay attention and I just found that I became very interested in it, right? And it kind of has to do with the amount of cable news and opinion that there is, right? And then over the last couple of years, frankly, podcasts have really been a big part of it for me. I listen to a lot of political podcast stuff, and it's just, I find it very interesting. And when I was younger, I had other things, and I don't mean when I was a teenager or something where all I thought about.
We all know what you were doing as a teenager.
Smoking pot or girls or music. I didn't care about anything. So I've had more time to just, be interested in it. So, and I think, I think that since Newt Gingrich started to fuck up the Republican Party, I have been more attuned to what's happening to it, and how dangerous it has become, and culminating in this last 4 years for Trump. And it's not over. I'm not saying by any stretch of imagination that it's over. We're in a period right now of, the Democrats are flexing their muscle and, trying to right.
Showing us their yoga pants.
Yeah, show us their yoga pants. But they're trying to, and we just got to they're trying to right some of the wrongs that they've seen happen, blah, blah, blah. So that whole conversation, are they doing what they should be doing? Or are they not? Well, only time will tell. But it's certainly understandable. But the Republicans are going to regroup or reform or something. Maybe not by their own volition. I mean, they seem to be just self-destructing, before our very eyes. So it's so funny because I think one of our recent podcasts, you named it The Republican Party is Dead. And that was your assertion during that podcast. And I don't know if you've seen this, but I have seen a ton of stuff on social media and on regular media where they're actually saying the exact same thing.
Well, listen, I told you that our downloads are up and people are listening to what we have to say, and I kind of know what I'm talking about. So, of course.
Okay, so you're the trendsetter that's causing the Republican Party is dead. I think maybe
now, if we hear them talk about other things like squat cobblers, then we'll really know.
My God, you don't make me try to look that up while we're on this podcast. I think that I don't know. So there's so much going on right now that it's hard, on the political scene. So I'm not even sure what our listeners would like to hear. So any feedback between podcasts, I think, would be appreciated. You want to hear, more about politics? Because I can still talk about it all day long.
Well, let me
there's
say
other
something.
things.
Here's
right.
Having known you for a very long time,
it's been a while now.
Yeah, and that's why I was asking, you if you think you've paid more attention to politics, but I get just the feeling that there has been, for lack of a better way to think about it, a less separation between quote unquote politics as we would traditionally view it, and the types of discussions that people did or didn't have at the dining room dinner table versus just everyday life. And maybe it's social media, maybe it's the train wreck that was Trump. It's just infiltrated every aspect of our lives. And again, it didn't start with Trump but 4 years ago, but it's just hard to get away from it. Everything is politics. Everything affects our lives one way or the other. For the most part, people don't pay attention, right? When I was a younger man, I don't remember having these types of conversations with people. It was, yes, you were aware of, who your elected officials were, certainly the president and vice president. You get, your governor. Maybe you lose it after that, the mayors and your representatives and all that. But it just seems to me that you just can't avoid it. And so, and that's good. We shouldn't avoid it. And so that's maybe forcing more people to pay attention. I think there's good that will come out of that.
Frankly, you're for your age, you're more attuned and knowledgeable about it than many other people I know your age. So I think that it's more of I think as you get older, you have more of a tendency, but in general, people don't really give a shit about politics. I mean, it's hard for us, Travis, because we're kind of political junkies, right? I mean, I watch a lot of cable news. Frankly, I'm trying to make sure that I'm taking in a wide variety of news, from different viewpoints and stuff. No matter how much information I take in from right-wing sources, it so far doesn't seem to be changing my base opinion about political matters or philosophy in general. But I think that it's still important to get exposure, not live in a complete bubble, right? I mean, we're all going to tend to live in our own sort of echo chambers, because on the whole, I'm not going to sit around and watch Fox News all night long. That's not going to happen, because, I get sick of it pretty fast, because it's so much of it is so stupid. But
there's certain people I can't listen to either. I try. Yeah. I'm like, let me give it a go, and then I just can't do it.
And I think that's why, as long as you're trying, and as long as you're not in a complete echo chamber, right?
But do you think that it's you made a comment there that you've attempted to watch these other outlets and your opinion hasn't changed, and I think that's
because I'm right to start out with. But go ahead.
No, you're left, my friend. But I think it's I don't know that we necessarily want to change people's opinions or how they feel about something versus what we do about it. So, for example, you could have an opinion one way or the other about abortion, and I would hope that if you watch some of these political shows that you don't come out of it saying, "Oh, I believe differently now." I mean, we're not going to change your belief, but let's. I think what we want to do is come to a consensus on what we do about it. So hey, if you believe in abortion or not, I'm not going to change your opinion, but let's agree that government shouldn't be involved in that, or something to that effect.
Right. I think I understand. I mean, I believe that wholeheartedly. I mean, I have zero interest in changing anybody's opinion about abortion. But if your opinion is that you're going to try to enforce your opinion about abortion
exactly
on other people, in the sense that, should they want to have an abortion, you're not going to allow them to, then that's the thing I want to change.
Exactly.
I want people to, mind their own goddamn business.
Yeah. And I think that's really the major disconnect in politics. Is it's less about what we do about something, and it's more about this ideology and the stubbornness and trying to convince, the other side that you're right or they're wrong. And it's a fucking recipe for disaster.
I think that for so many people on the right, frankly, they have grievances, right? You mentioned that the former president twice,
number 45. What's 45. The full nomenclature here? Let's get it right.
45th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, is currently making a list of his grievances. That's all he ever did for 4 years. I mean, he never missed a chance to outline his grievances and the grievances of his supporters, theoretically. And frankly, that seems to be all that's really going on with that. So as we worry about the extremes of both sides of these parties or these political beliefs, I'm going to refrain from trying to lay out I think that the extreme of the left, the things we need to watch about are overzealous, tendencies towards, say, socialism, right? I mean, I don't think
full-blown communism in some cases.
I'm sure it's there, right? Those are extremes, and they're not, to be honest with you, they're not that important. And on the right, it just all seems to be grievance driven. I mean, to a person now, the people that I have had a chance to interact with that are on the far right are just pissed about a whole bunch of stuff, and that's driving their entire political outlook. And so I think that's unfortunate, because I don't think that that's really the case. I mean, I think that, I'm sure on the far left, there are many people that are also grievance driven, and they think that the government or the United States or the right has been so unfair to the poor, this or that. I mean, there's some truth in all of that, but the extremes are never what we're looking for, right? So, I mean, I'm a centrist, right? I want to see, my preference for everything would be bipartisan negotiations on all the issues but it seems to be impossible to get, and I'm just going to put this out there, seems to be impossible to get the current version of the post Newt Gingrich Republican Party to do anything in good faith, period.
Well, and that is, we just have a complete dysfunction, and I don't know whether it's because we're just stuck in this two-party system, or if it's the faction that remains of the Republican Party from that era. I haven't studied it long enough to know really where there was a major shift, but that's why I say the future of the Republican Party, I think, is going to ultimately dissolve. We saw the reverse kind of happen, well, whatever it was, 4 years ago, 8 years ago, with this Tea Party movement, which never really materialized. There's still some Tea Party people within the Republican group, but ultimately, I think they're going to dissolve and self-implode. And some of those more left-leaning or centrist Republican people will probably defect over to the Democratic side, and that will maybe balance the spread of the far-left progressivism that's developing within that group. So call it by a different name, but you're going to see more of the same, I think.
Well, I mean, I think that there's still a large segment of the population that believe that government is too big and too involved, and in that it should be smaller, right? And that is, I think that core of the Republican outlook is still there, right? But it has been so supplanted by this grievance-driven rubbish on the far right, right? And menace politics, fear-mongering nonsense, far right. I mean, the Republican Party had the perfect chance to stand up and make a stand about what they really mean, what they really want with this QAnon bitch, and that the Democrats had to finally step up and strip of her committee responsibilities, because
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Was she on your radar at all before recently?
Not before this election.
Right.
I mean, she just got elected. Now, the other QAnon spouting white supremacist bitch is Bobart, right? So you're going to find out she's corrupt, and she's going to end up being arrested or something. She's already. So she just submitted $22,000 in gasoline reimbursement.
She probably drives a Charger.
Well, whatever. She hasn't been in Congress long enough to, it's just like, oh my God. And then this what's her name again? The Maryland, what's her whole name?
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Marjorie. So Maggie is just, that's not Maggie. Is that Maggie? Marjorie? Is that the nickname Maggie?
I don't know.
So she is
MAGA Taylor Greene.
So and then who's the congressional leader? Is his name Hart or who is? See, we don't know. We know Nancy because she's the Democratic Speaker of the House. But then and
she's been around forever because she's 100.
And then there's her Republican counterpart, and whatever his name is, and he's the one that should have got this thing in hand. But he stands up and tell us that if you could only hear what Marjorie Greene told us in the private meeting we had with her, she never heard of Jews taking over the space program and shooting lasers from space to start the forest
Well,
fires.
first of all, I mean, I was going to ask you about this, and I have a little bit of her.
Okay,
but
good.
So she lost. She had committee assignments within the House, and then
she was on the Education and the Budget Committee.
So they stripped her of that. They voted to physically remove her of that, but she's still in the House of Representatives. She didn't lose her seat.
No, you can't do that.
So has she been canceled? Are you in favor of this?
No, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean,
can she serve on?
Let me just say, I know this is a big deal for you, but I'm just going to say it. I don't give a shit about cancel culture. I don't. I think that is,
you like canceling.
That is just an excuse for not taking responsibility, and I think it's ironic that anybody on the conservative side would take this stance and use this cancel culture nonsense as some kind of criticism. I mean, Republicans used to always be, hey, they were the people that were in favor of people taking responsibility for things. So, get over it with the cancel culture thing. I mean, you can keep saying it if you want, Travis. I don't care. It's not going to piss me off, but I don't think it's the thing. I think it's an excuse. So as far as Marjorie.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's all right. Go ahead. We'll get back to him. Let's wait till you play the clips.
Well, here's what I was going to say.
She speaks for herself, to be honest.
Yeah, she's a fucking nut job. I mean, I don't like cancel culture. It's fucking a disease, and we need to wipe it out because there's too much irrational groupthink, and we gotta fix that. But it is interesting, and I throw the question out there because where is she from? I don't even know. She's from the South.
Tennessee.
So one of your favorite places. We know how you feel about the South.
Yeah.
But so she was sent there by her people.
I would cancel her just for the accent. So go ahead.
Well, and literally I've never heard her speak until recently. And I don't know when she got her House seat, but she clearly, was elected by the people in her area in Tennessee. She was sent to go represent them in the United States Congress.
She ran unopposed.
So then she gets these committee assignments. And you know as well as I do that if the House of Representatives had the power to physically take her seat away from her, they would. And that's why I'm throwing it out there. I'm just saying.
Well, they don't. So, I mean, they don't. But, I mean, both
will
caucuses.
They try?
Well, I mean, the caucuses, the parties have a responsibility. I mean, they get to sign whoever they want to the committees, right? So, I mean, the Republican Party defends her, right? Stands up, doesn't self-regulate and take this nut job off these important committees. She's a Parkland shooting denier. She's a 9/11 denier. She's a fucking anti-Semitic lunatic.
She is,
right? And so instead of them fulfilling their responsibility, they don't.
Well, here's the question, though. So she is all those things, right?
Right.
But so she gets there. She shows up because she was elected. She ran unopposed, whatever. But she got the seat. And so how did she get the committee assignments? They knew who she was. Is it a matter of, hey, we have to have, Slow Larry over here? I can
explain it if you want.
And we got to have him on the committee so we can show we're including everybody? Or how did she get these assignments? I mean, they obviously know what she's about.
I think the Republican, oh God, I wish I could think of the guy's name. I'm surprised you don't know it, but the minority leader in the Congress, his name will come to us sooner or later. Someone will text it to me after this episode. That's what happened. That's what happened with
Tower Records.
Yeah, I got like all these texts. Are you guys trying to think of Tower Records, you morons? So anyway, they think that constituency in Tennessee and that part of the South and these Trump voters, they don't want to lose them because they think they're a significant portion of their constituency. And so they didn't, I mean, they could have stopped her from being elected in the first place had their political party put somebody in there and supported somebody that wasn't a fucking lunatic.
You're talking about the gatekeepers now.
Well, I mean, again, the Republican Party falls down on their responsibilities of gatekeeping who the goddamn candidates are. So
well, hey, listen, let me push back on that a little bit.
Yeah,
they're not alone in that. I mean, listen, if we're going to talk about that, the parties are responsible for gatekeeping, every House seat. There's some other fucking whack jobs on the Democratic side that I think should have been kept the fuck out.
Is there anybody that comes close to Marjorie Taylor Greene?
I don't know. Let's hear a little bit of her.
If we have a sea of people, if we shut down the streets, if we shut down everything, if we flood the Capitol building, flood all the government buildings, go inside. These are public buildings. We own them. We own these buildings. Do you understand that? We own the buildings and we pay all the people that work in the buildings.
So that's, I think that recording is it was done before. I don't know how long before the Capitol charge, the insurrection attempt, but that's pretty damning audio there. So
hello, lunatic. Is that the best? Is that all you got of her?
No.
Let's see what else you
The
got.
so-called plane that crashed into the Pentagon. It's odd. There's never any evidence shown for a plane in the Pentagon. There is an Islamic invasion into our government offices right now. Kennedy getting killed in the plane crash. That's another one of those Clinton murders, right?
I don't even know what the fuck she's talking about.
Well, these are the baby-eating pedophilia ring led by the Clintons. Here's the thing. Kennedy Jr., his wife, sister-in-law,
kills
housekeeper, babies. They all faked their death so they could go to work for President Trump. and Q. Oh, no, man. It's so fucking ridiculous. I think that my favorite is, and I don't think there's any audio of her talking about this, but there is print of her Facebook posts regarding the forest fires in Northern California and how that the forest fires.
You can't even say it with a straight face.
Well,
what did she
here's
say?
the thing. Kevin McCarthy, that's his goddamn
yes.
name. Kevin McCarthy, the minority leader in the Congress. He got up in front of Congress and to the news media and said that Marjorie Taylor Greene looked him in the eye, which is a fucking nightmare to begin with. But she looked him in the eye and swore to him that she has no idea what the hell they're talking about her saying that there were lasers coming out of the sky to start the forest fires. And then all you got to do is just look it up, and her Facebook posts talk extensively about how the Jews have dominated the space program, and now they have the capability to shoot lasers from space into the forest to start fires so that they can make people believe there's global warming.
So let me get on your page here. She is saying that the Jews started this space war program deliberately to start the fires in California. She says, look, there were these blue lasers coming, these blue lights coming out of the sky that started the forest fires. But she's not in California. Did she see these lasers?
Well, she's the one supporting the conspiracy theory. I don't think she's claiming to have personal knowledge of anything, right? Let's just,
if you want to illustrate cases of climate change and connecting the Jews of their Star Wars laser program, why would you pick the California wildfires to do that?
Because that's the conspiracy theory that she supports.
So it was this
from the anti-Semitic motherfucking white supremacist based shit she belongs to.
So what you're saying then is to her base back home, if she does any of these town halls or whenever she has a chance to speak with her constituents, she says, hey, listen, all this talk about climate change is bullshit. It's the Jews shooting lasers out of the sky and starting fires. Don't fucking believe any of it that they're saying.
No, that's what she said on her Facebook page. And
so then she denied it. But it's in print.
She denied it earlier this week. She denied all of it.
Is it possible?
I'm sorry about some of it, but then I don't know anything about the lasers. What the hell are these people talking about?
Is this the one where there was another? I don't think it was this. There was another story. Maybe it was about threatening violence against another House member, and she's. I don't know if it was her, but another story where they said my account was hacked. Does that sound familiar?
Was that her? Maybe.
It was about...
But it's nonsense. Her account wasn't hacked. That's ridiculous.
And I don't want to say that it was her and her account, but I thought of it when you said that. So is she claiming that with the Jews and the lasers that she didn't actually say it and her account was hacked, or she did?
To the best of my knowledge regarding that particular crazy storiness, she just I mean, here's the thing. Is it Kevin Hart? That's not the black guy comedian, is it? That
Kevin Hart is the comedian. Kevin McCarthy.
Oh, Kevin McCarthy.
Yes.
Sorry, Kevin McCarthy. Who is the Republican minority leader
I think
in
that's
the
right.
Congress. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, could he possibly be that stupid? I mean, so here's the thing.
Is he saying he believes
none of it
her?
matters.
Or is he saying that? Is he saying he believes her, or is he saying that that's what she told me to my face?
Here's what he literally said, and I saw him say this on television. Unless this is a deep fake, which
could be.
Knows. That she looked him in the eye in this private meeting they had with her behind closed doors, that she looked him in the eye and told him that she has no idea what the laser stories are all about, and she has no knowledge of what they're talking about, and he believes her, and I believe her. You all should have seen and heard what we did. You're a fucking idiot, McCarthy. Just an idiot.
So what do we do about it? We say she's here. She's in the House of Representatives, so you got to live with her for 2 years.
Try to minimize the damage. I mean, you can't look. The Education Committee is an important committee in the Congressional House.
Is it? Are they the ones with this fucking
Congress.
2 + 2 = 5 math bullshit?
I don't know. I don't know about that. Please don't become a crazy conspiracy theorist on me live before our eyes. Anyway, it's just like, so has she been canceled? Yeah. Should she have been canceled? Yeah.
Do you know who else really was a supporter of hers?
Well, I can't imagine. Trump.
Yeah, but it's not Trump. It's Mr.
And the two senators
number
from Georgia.
45, President Donald J. Trump. We haven't heard from him in a while.
Oh, let's see.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, right here from North.
But I officially took away my grab him by the puss soundbite.
Why?
Well, listen, he's gone. Let's have a new beginning.
Okay.
I've purged all evidence of Trump, but we haven't heard from him in a while. And he's not tweeting because he's not allowed to. And because it was Marjorie Taylor Greene, I figure I would just bring him back momentarily.
Okay, let's hear it.
West Georgia. Oh, boy, I don't want to mess with her. No, she's great. This one, I never, ever want to have her as my enemy. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Where is she? She is so unbelievable. Also joining us tonight are Georgia representatives. Marjorie Taylor Greene. I love Marjorie.
Do you miss his cadence at all?
Georgia?
I don't know.
No.
You
I don't miss him at all. In fact, that might be the first time I've actually heard his voice in quite a while.
Me too. I know. It was
and I'm glad, I think that although there's quite a bit of activity here in the first 100 days of the Biden and Harris administration, I'm not watching it the way it was. I mean, look, every day was 3 catastrophically terrible items from the sitting president of the United States, 45th president of the United States.
I know what you mean. I mean, it was more of you couldn't just get the news because you wanted to be involved and informed. Yeah, you had to kind of watch it to make sure, how are you going to react? How are you going to, help,
that has currently been replaced by Marjorie Taylor Greene stories. So, I mean, I think that's unfortunate, right? I mean, if I had my way, we wouldn't be talking about her at all. And if Kevin McCarthy had done what he should have done as the House Minority Leader and got her off those fucking committees, we wouldn't be talking about
but she's, hey, listen, she looked at him with her blue laser eyes and told him, here's the last one I have of her. I think this speaks to her trying, it's not the comment that you made, but trying to backpedal on, the stance that she's taken on certain things.
School shootings are absolutely real. I also want to tell you 9/11 absolutely happened. I remember that day crying all day long watching it on the news.
So did she previously say that the school shootings didn't happen?
Yes. Yeah, she she in the past, before she ran,
Yeah.
right? Her statements were that, she was a 9/11 denier. She was the Parkland shooting denier, right? And I mean,
what does that mean, denier? She said what?
It didn't happen.
Well, so how do you explain the deaths and the carnage in the school?
They were just faked. Yeah, they were just that the news media just makes this shit up to push left-wing agenda items
like gun control.
Like gun control, right? So, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, so they took a vote in the Congress yesterday, day before, whatever it was, and 11 Republicans joined every single Democrat to strip her of her committee assignments. 11. And frankly, I was surprised, but I'm happy about that. I think that's encouraging, that 11. But one of the fathers who's been quite the activist since the Parkland shootings, one of the parents, and I don't know his name, I'm sure you can find it out. he appealed to the 3 of the 11 Republicans were Florida Congress people that he appealed to directly and begged them not to side with this fucking racist lunatic.
And they did.
And they decided not to side with her. And as a result of the pleading from this organization that represents Parkland parents. And why?
Well, that's good, right? That's an example of these elected officials listening to their constituents.
11. There's how many?
Well, no, not 11 from Florida.
How many? No, but 11 out of all of the Republicans.
Well,
only
here's
7.
And I can't speak for the rest of them, but I read something to the effect that there's more than 11. Here's the other argument, and I'm not defending it, but here's
had it been a secret vote, there would have been
perhaps
a lot more.
Should we go to secret voting? Is that the solution? So
that we should go to secret voting for the Senate trial. That's for sure.
Why not every vote?
Because they would definitely. They would definitely convict him.
Why not? Why not do that for every vote?
Don't we have a bet? Didn't you take the side on the bet that they're going to convict Trump?
I don't remember. I have to go back and check. But here, as we stand now, I don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen.
Oh my God. Oh, okay. But
hey, listen, I'm not gonna back out on the bet if we got money here.
Okay, I'm going to have to pull it up. Are we paying somebody to transcribe these?
Yes.
Podcasts?
Yes.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Is it Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Yes. So we better proofread that.
Oh my God. So that's been going on. So
you mentioned the Parkland thing. There was another story I read about. There was a kid in who was involved in the Parkland. He was there. He was a student. I think he's 20 years old now. And in the world of cancel culture, one of Trump's other big allies was this MyPillow guy. You know him?
Yes.
A really bad dye job and creepy mustache.
Yeah, Mike. Unfortunately, his name is Mike.
It's a popular name. Don't get offended.
Yeah.
So he's now being canceled, of course, because he was in Trump's corner. And to really put him over the edge and drive the nail in,
is that why he's being canceled? Or is it because he's a fucking lunatic?
Why do you not have the right to be a lunatic? In this country,
you have the right to suffer the consequences for being a lunatic.
Exactly.
Which is to be canceled.
Okay, fine. But what being canceled but see here, I'm going to defend this. Being canceled should come from the form of capitalism, not canceled in the media, not canceled because you're taking off, Twitter or Amazon or all that other bullshit. Wait a minute,
who makes this decision? Are you the one that makes this decision? Isn't this a slippery slope?
I'm going to tell you. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to tell you. So this Parkland kid now, he is going to start a pillow company. I don't think I have his name, but he's going to start a pillow company. I think he's got some, Silicon Valley investor, and they're going to put MyPillow out of business and really take him down. I mean, listen, okay, fine. You want to start a pillow company.
He's going out of business anyway. So,
do we need other pillow competitors? And does the mission need to be, hey, fuck you, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I was there. It really was a shooting and lives were lost and were, forever changed because of it. and now I'm going to put all that energy into a pillow company? Really?
Well, I mean, I think it's stupid.
I mean, is that if the pillow guy is
the answer is no. We don't need that pillow.
We don't. And that I hate that shit too. Like you hear all these commercials, every commercial, like on the radio, for example, on the satellite radio or maybe even, regular TV, they start out with the same formula. It's like this husband and wife, and they had a bad experience, pick up whatever they're selling. A bad experience buying sheets, or bad experience buying underwear, or our mini blinds got fucked up. And we knew we could do it a better way. So we started our own company.
That's the window
company.
What the fuck
do you know about Windows?
What,
you're an expert now?
That's American Windows. It's like, well, we had such a bad experience when we had windows replaced in our home. We started our own company, and that's when we started.
But they're all the same. I mean, every product is the same. So I can just see this Parkland guy, I couldn't sleep at night because of the Parkland shooting, and I had this fucking guy's my pillow, and it was a hideous pillow, and then he was a Trump supporter, so I knew I could do it better and make my own pillow.
I spent $14,000 25 years ago or something. It's been quite a while now to have all of the aluminum doors and windows replaced on the back of my house. Before I bought the house, all of the aluminum windows had been replaced with wood windows nicely on the front of the house by the previous owners. But like they did everything else, the previous owners of this house cheaped out and did not do the back.
Yeah, well, you don't see the back.
Right. So, I had I had one of these aluminum framed sliding doors. I have 3 sliding doors on the back of my house. And every one of them you could open by simply leaning your shoulder against it, and then it would pop open and come open, right? So anyway, we had that done. And then by we thought, we checked this out. We had multiple companies come in. We thought this was a reputable company, right? Here's the first tip off. I should have known better. Lifetime warranty. Whenever you hear lifetime warranty, that company is going out of business soon. So
your famous phrase, you're going out of business. You just don't know it.
I know. I should have known better because I know better. Well, anyway, 3 of the multiple doors in my, big glass doors in my house leaked. And
get it fixed under the warranty.
No, they're out of business. They went out of business. That's why I wasn't worried about it. I'm like, yeah, I'll drop all this huge amount of money on this. And so on the inside of these windows, there's condensation and now staining on the inside of them. So now I have to get them all replaced. Not to mention all the fucking handles went bad. And so 2 out of the 3 sliders, I currently have to open with a screwdriver. It's a nice look. It's like, hey, let me let you out the back door here. Oh, wait, let me get my screwdriver out of my fucking toolbox.
If Marjorie Taylor Greene loses her seat in the House and then she decides to start a window company, would you hire her company?
No.
Does it matter to you who owns the company if they do good work?
Here's the thing. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who, by the way, didn't graduate high school, right?
It's kind of obvious.
She got her fucking GED while she was campaigning.
Isn't she like
we need
40 or 50?
We need some minimum standards to be a congressperson. Fuck.
Well, okay, I'm glad you brought that up. What about, this is in the news, congressional term limits?
Congressional term limits, yes.
You like it? You don't like it?
Well, I think I'm on the side currently of no term limits.
Why?
Well, because I think that, here's what I know are the pros and cons, right? The con, in favor of term limits is that this will eliminate professional politicians in the Congress. Right?
So far, so good,
right? And then that's really the only thing that's really the only pro for it, right? I mean, because you got 2 years in the Congress and 6 years in the Senate,
and this current proposal. I don't know if it's just an idea or if there's movement here, but there's this, whatever it is, proposal on the table to limit the Senate term limits to 2 6-year terms and the House for 3 2-year terms.
2-year
Did I
terms.
get that right?
Yeah. Yeah, but on the negative side, I mean, we already have term limits. They're called elections. Okay.
Yeah, but that's not the same.
Well, it's not the same. And here's the thing. So let's say you have a congressperson, senator, Congress, or what representative that's doing a great job for you. And
Goodbye.
It says,
Goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye. Right. So
go make windows now. Go make pillows.
Yeah. I mean, anytime that people don't think that their Congress people are doing a good job, they can vote them out.
But why is that argument not the same? Why doesn't it have the same weight with presidential elections? I mean, I said this to you. I might have said it on the podcast, but when we were talking about when I think Biden became the choice for the Democratic Party,
we don't want a lifetime.
What's the difference? What I said to you was, okay, Biden, he's a bad choice for all the obvious reasons. Trump is a bad choice for some obvious and yet to be known obvious reasons. Why can't we bring Obama back? Let's bring him back. So he was a guy that I think certainly at the end of his presidency and in the years since, I think, the height of popularity, approval ratings, for the most part, you look at his record, I think, and I said this to you, I think off the air, that my life was more or less better under him as president. Why not bring him back? If he was doing a great job, why did he have to leave? And what's the difference between leaving and being a king and serving for life? I mean, can't we figure out a middle ground?
Well, I mean, I think that the answer to your base question here is why can't President Obama, who, we all like President Obama, except for those of us that don't. So, because there are people that don't.
I just don't see how. I mean, that's a good point that you made. That if an elected an official, a representative, is doing a good job for you, why would you want to lose him? But the same case could be made at the executive level.
It could be, except that the reason why the presidency has this relatively short, I mean, all in all, it's 8 years of any given person is the max. And so that is to ensure that there's no way that anybody can become a lifetime dictator. I mean, it's in the Constitution. So, I mean, it's almost impossible at this point to get a constitutional amendment through. That's why. I mean, you can change it if you really want to. If you really want presidents to serve more than 8 years, start working on the constitutional amendment.
And I think
that's not going to happen.
My personal opinion is that is working. It's working for this country to have a person only have the ability to serve a total of 8 years. And if it's working there,
it's a long time.
It is a long time. And if it's working there, then it should also work for the Congress.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's quite as. I mean, for me, if you're asking me where I am on this issue, I'm a little bit on the fence, leaning more toward being against term limits
because your people are in power.
Well, there you go. I mean, there have certainly been a lot more great long-term Democratic congressional people, both senators and congressmen, than there have ever been Republicans. So
you'll have to send me their names because I can't think of any.
Ted Kennedy, hello. So
didn't he kill somebody?
They never proved that. Much like they never proved Hillary killed anyone.
All right. Well, we're gonna use that argument when we try Trump here.
Oh my God!
You can't prove that.
So you're off the. There was a time where you thought that they would probably convict him, and especially if they postponed the trial as they have, that you thought that would allow more of the evidence to come out and would convince more Republican senators that he should be convicted. So that's not looking good to you now. What? Because only five. Was it five? Only five Republicans, 5 or 10. What was it that voted for 5, right?
What?
Only 5 Republicans voted. Only 5 Republican Congress people voted to along with the Democrats to have the trial or no, to impeach him. What's changed your thinking, I guess, is my question.
Well, I never thought, I mean, listen, as we know, the process starts in the House, and then the Senate conducts the trial. And so we have this even split divide, 50-50 with senators, and then we have the vice president as the tiebreaker. But I just don't think, don't you need 60 votes? Didn't we establish?
Need 60.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get it.
You got to have 17. You're going to need 17 Republicans to cross party lines and vote to convict.
I don't see that happening. And I think, just like with this Marjorie Taylor Greene, there was a dude, I don't know his name, but he was speaking to the committee assignment stripping, and he basically said, hey, she's said some dumb shit. She's kind of a moron, but listen, that doesn't mean that she should lose her committee assignment. You're picking on her or whatever. I think, albeit weak, I think a similar type of argument will happen in the Senate where they say, listen, the sole purpose of an impeachment, what the founders had in mind, was to remove a person from office. To remove a person, yes, it carries the added consequence of never being able to serve again, but that wasn't the intention of it. And so because he's already removed from office, this is a moot point. And I think that will do two things. I think that
process.
But listen, you're asking me what I think is going to transpire, and I think that that will serve two purposes for them. Number one, I think there are people, Republicans in the Senate, that actually believe that it is a matter of principle, and he's gone, and therefore it is a moot point. And I think it will also allow those on the fence they'll be able to be shielded from having to, maybe they really want to side with the Democrats, but they know that they'll get fucked when they go back home. And so this is a way
get canceled by the Republicans.
Yes, and this is a way for them to be shielded from that. That's what I think.
All right. So what do you think is right in this case? What would be right? For 1 minute, just do not talk about process, just on the face of it.
Me personally, I do not think it's right to convict him of impeachment, to impeach him. I think that he definitely has some culpability in this riot at the Capitol, and I personally think that he should face... So I guess the question, Travis, is, do you believe that he incited an insurrection? That's what he's charged with. Yeah, I think... I don't like the word insurrection. I think he incited a riot.
What it was.
Yeah, but not really. We established that these fucking guys...
Listen. If it's happening in the Kmart parking lot, it's a riot. If it's a group of people breaking the windows and kicking down the doors and killing police officers, right? Well, in but here's the Capitol, then it's an insurrection.
Yeah,
that is the definition of it.
About the Charles Manson parallel. Trump didn't say go in there and kill people.
Didn't save Manson.
Huh?
Didn't save Manson.
Yeah, but Manson actually told his followers to go kill people. Trump didn't say that. Is it implied? I don't think so. What Trump really wanted is this. He wanted to throw a public tantrum.
What do you think was going to happen?
Well, and I agree, and we talked about that. Well, I think Trump threw a public tantrum. I think he wanted all those people to go to the Capitol. He said, more or less, don't let them proceed with the vote counting or whatever, right? The elector certification process. Did he want them to break into the building? I don't know. Did he want them, if they did break into the building, to murder people? I don't know. I hope not. But if he did, let me say this:
it doesn't matter what he wanted. That's not. So here's my point. Part of it.
What I'm really trying to say here is that the consequences for that should be more severe than a fucking sham impeachment. This is ridiculous. The impeachment does two things. It removes him from office. He's already gone. He's getting more of an orange suntan.
You don't think there's somebody that is responsible for that? And it's not just the speech he gave 5 minutes before they marched down and did it, right? It's the totality of this fraudulent election nonsense, right?
Let me say it another way.
The continuous spouting of lies that culminated in this, topped off by his speech before. You don't think that a sitting president of the United States should not be barred from holding further public office, especially that office?
Let me say it another way, and I'm going to get to your. I'm going to answer your question.
Okay.
No, I don't think that this impeachment process goes far enough. And I've said this to you before. I would much rather see him be barred from serving future office for some other severe penalty, meaning he's jailed, right?
Yeah, but there's a huge problem with that.
Well, you asked me about process. The process is broken. They're trying to figure out a way to nail him with the tools they have. Well, let's do what we do when we need to right a wrong. Let's change the rules and make it right. So this whole impeachment to me is a sham. And the only thing that they're going to get out of this, Mike, let's say there's a conviction. The only thing that they're really going to get that has any kind of teeth is that he would be barred from serving from office. Well, what does that do? He's still out there, saying whatever he's going to say, have fake Twitter accounts and have his people post his messages.
Well, I mean, that will prevent him from being the president again.
Okay, fine.
Which is...
And what else would prevent him is if he was in jail.
Yeah, but here is the big problem with that I...
Let me ask you another question real quick. If you get
Go ahead.
Convicted of a felony, can you run for office? So
honestly, I don't know.
What if he doesn't go to jail, but he
can't buy a gun?
Right. So what if he doesn't go to jail?
I don't know that there's a, I don't know that having a criminal record prevents you from, I don't know.
Well, let's say that
I know being in prison would prevent you from running in 2024.
Should we send him
then you're 100, so you can't run anymore. All right. Look, here's the problem. It's not that I mean, I do disagree with you. I think that he should suffer the full consequence of impeachment and conviction by the Senate for incitement to cause an insurrection. But we've already talked about that, so that's fine. And would I be in favor of him being criminally prosecuted for a multitude of things following, in his future to have nothing to do with impeachment or the Senate? Yeah, mm-hmm. I do. But my fear about that, and the reason why I'm not excited about that process, is it's not a good precedent in this country for the former president of the United States to be criminally prosecuted.
Well, who cares about precedent?
Because
it wasn't a good precedent to impeach Clinton over getting a little,
It's what happens in third world countries and dictatorships throughout history.
We need to look our black eye in the mirror. And if this is a blemish on our history, let's deal with it.
It's okay. I mean, I'm okay with it. Put him in prison. I mean, I think that there's a substantial chance that he's going to suffer some criminal prosecution in the state of New York that nobody in the federal government can do anything to stop.
Speaking of precedent, though, I think that's an important – I don't want to gloss over that. And I understand the gravity of what you're saying, but –
it's a bad thing.
It is. And impeachment in general is bad because what you're basically saying...
Not impeachment.
I'm not saying
bad.
We should get rid of the process. I understand why it's written in the Constitution.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is this. It's used for political purposes. And that was certainly the case with Bill Clinton. That had nothing to do with governing and serving in the role of the executive office.
That was ridiculous, and that was not the correct use of impeachment.
Right.
But this is both times. So we've litigated this already.
Yes.
So I want to bring up something else.
Yeah, go for it.
Because I can only argue about this, right? So I want to know if you're aware of the $2.7, the $2.70 lawsuit. No, the $2.7 billion lawsuit that has been filed against the 45th president of the United States,
Donald J.
Trump, Giuliani, that stupid bitch lawyer that even Giuliani didn't want to be associated with, Kelly McEnany, and a multitude of other people in the administration that for shit talking Dominion and Smartmatic.
Yeah.
Right? They're all being sued. $2.7 billion.
By Dominion.
I'm a little confused. I heard this report. So I saw on social media that it said it was Smartmatic. And maybe this is the same company, but I thought Smartmatic and Dominion were two different voting machine manufacturers. Maybe it's a joint lawsuit. I don't know. But I heard the report, one or the other or both of them, for either they're two suits at 2.7 billion or one suit. 2.7 billion is a lot of money. And here's the thing: they're all being sued by these vote counting machine manufacturers. So that's going to be that is going to be the correct consequence for them for defaming these. And here's the thing: the lawsuit, you got to look this up, man. The lawsuit starts out something along the lines of this. The sky is blue. 2 + 2 = 4. Anyway, it goes on like that and goes on to say that Trump lost the election and there was no fraud. No evidence of fraud.
Can't we dismiss the lawsuit because of the way it starts with the sky is blue and 2 + 2? I mean, shouldn't you, if you're a judge, you look at that and say, yeah, I'm not hearing this.
Oh, I think it's going to be a slam dunk, to be honest with you.
I'm not, listen.
And then, yeah, but
go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, then here, this is not the same lawsuit, but have you seen, so these geniuses that Trump has hired as his legal defense, and this doesn't matter for him because it doesn't matter whether the lawyers he has for his Senate trial are competent or not, because he already knows that this Senate is not going to convict him. So it really doesn't matter. He could hire anybody to do this. But these guys have responded to the Senate charges. They misspelled the word united twice in their document.
Who is this? The Trump defense team?
Yeah, the Trump. So you have to.
Well,
respond,
they're from
right?
Ukraine. They don't know the English language. Give them a break.
They very possibly are. Oh my God!
I'm not a fan of lawsuits. I'm not a fan of lawyers. They don't have 2.7 billion. You look at that on the surface, it's just a fucking shakedown. And by the way, listen, we know that I have a law background here. So
yeah, junior lawyer.
Doesn't Dominion have to ultimately prove losses? Did they sustain really any financial loss? Yes, they were smeared in the news, but I mean, what's their damage?
I don't know. You know what? It's a defamation suit.
I get it, but don't they have to prove damages? They're suing, so it's incumbent upon them.
I think their proof is going to be, it's right in the first line, right? It's
sky is blue.
Here's their case. These people knew that that what they were saying was a lie. That's what they're going to have to prove.
But lying isn't illegal.
It is. The lying's not illegal, but the consequences for it are clear.
Well, where's the crime? I don't get it.
They defamed these companies.
Okay, but where's the damage?
Well, they're going to show the damage. Trust me, I'm sure of that.
I'm just kind of pushing back on you. I mean, listen, that argument.
I think it's great. I just my favorite thing this whole week, right? And then the people named in it. I mean, and then how did you like the? Did you get? Let's see. I think you called it virtue signaling or something. I sent you the video about the. Oh yeah, she came on like a sake bomb. So the listeners don't know, but there was a TikTok where they show. Am I getting her name wrong? Carol McEnany. Yeah, the blonde.
Kaylee, I think.
Kaylee McEnany is. They show a video of her talking about how I can't remember what she was saying, but how she was being, wronged or something, more grievance bullshit. And then they show, and by the way, her name is Jen Psaki, not Saki, Psaki.
Are we sure that's how you pronounce it?
Isaki.
I mean, listen, we're gonna have. She's got plenty of time if she can survive her role as press secretary. We'll get her.
You might want to hire her,
instead
of Sanders Huckabee.
But are we really
stroke face?
She's had. Good. I see that you're not taking your apology seriously. No. I mean, listen, this Jen Psaki, she's got 30 days on the job? Not even. We'll give her time to put her foot in her mouth. It happens to all of them.
It's going to be good.
What do you think about this? Something else about the trial, this impeachment, that they're now demanding that Trump be present to testify. Isn't that, can't you plead the fifth? I'm pretty sure that's not legal. I mean, right?
Well, I mean, I think I'm sure they'd love him to testify.
Of
right?
course. Wouldn't we all?
And I'm sure if if it was up to him, he would testify because he would love another chance to get up in front of a national coverage,
of course,
and talk about and continue to. And I think he would probably put the bow on top of the Dominion Smartmatic
no
lawsuit.
doubt about it. But can they force him to do it?
No, I don't think so.
But they've
already his incompetent lawyers have already said he's not going to be in Washington D.C. during the trial.
But these fucking Democrats we're demanding it. It must happen.
Demand all they want.
Right? Whiny bitches. Just fucking throw them in jail. Come on.
Cancel. Well, I think, I'm going to just take your acquiescence that Trump is a criminal and should be in jail as a victory for me and my opinion.
Well, I mean, and you asked the question about the way I look at it is, and the way I think we should look at it is, how do we right the wrongs? How do we pave the way forward? And if go back to Obama, hope and change. You got to have change. You can't just say, well, this is the way we've done it and this is our process. Fuck that. Times have changed. And would we ever think that we would have a sitting president incite a riot?
Or get impeached twice in one term. Well, I mean, every standard, every institution, every norm was just, his goal was to obliterate them all. And that's been the goal of the Marjorie Taylor Greene ilk behind him and that whole group of people, the worst of which were represented on January 6th and committed.
You know what a better name for Trump is?
What?
Klinger.
Klinger?
Do you remember the character Klinger?
The MASH character?
From MASH, yes.
Yeah.
And he tried everything to get out. He just wanted to get out of the military. Everything he did, his costumes and dressing like a woman.
That's good. I like that. Is he the Klinger of politics?
As we've established, Trump never wanted to be president, and all he tried to do was get the fuck out of it.
Well, at least he has time now to sit at home and write out his list of fucking grievances that we've heard so many goddamn times. So
speaking of grievances, we kept dangling your carrot, but the comparison between the protests, the BLM protests and the Capitol?
Let's talk about it for a minute. I don't want to make too big a deal out of this, but here's what I've heard a couple times along the road here is, right-wing opinionness opine that somehow there's some comparison between the Black Lives Matter protests, some of which resulted in, let's call it looting, right? It was really all it was.
Property damage.
Yeah, that result looting and property damage. And somehow there's some comparison. And I just think that is ridiculous. Well, I don't know how you feel about it. So maybe let's start there. I mean, if I've stated out the premise here correctly, I don't think the two things have anything to do with each other. And I guess my problem with it is I hear it put like this. Well, you didn't have any problem when the Black Lives Matter people were looting and rioting, but now that the right-wing people, have committed insurrection and stormed the Capitol, now it's a problem. So what's your opinion about that whole mess?
I think the narrative is basically that what you just said, that there's this double standard and the hypocrisy. Both sides are trying to point out where the other side has been a hypocrite on all of, pick a topic, and that's just what this thing has turned into. Modern day politics is just mudslinging. Listen, for me personally, there's a clear distinction. I think I'm never in favor of anything, most things anyway, that start with the word illegal. So, personally, I'm never in favor of hurting people, killing people, damaging property. Those are all bad things. And so I'm not defending the comparison between both. I think it's a weak argument. Obviously, one was incited by the Klinger in chief because he, wanted to throw a public tantrum, and the other was a bubble, if you will, that was long overdue to pop of, civil unrest and racial tensions, for lack of a better term, in this country. The thing that pissed me off was that it happened during the goddamn COVID. and that we were all told we had to stay in our houses and we couldn't leave unless we were protesting. That was kind of bullshit. But I never bought into the conspiracies that this was somehow organized by some of these groups deliberately. These were professional protesters. Did you hear some of this? And this was some organized attempt to destroy all these properties. I think the bottom line is this: you can't ignore the gravity of what we saw over the summer, I guess it was. And I don't know if this conversation that's happening now about the Capitol is an attempt to suppress that. I wouldn't be surprised if it is, but there's no comparison. I think that it makes people who are making that argument, which of course there are some high-profile politicians on the right doing so, I think that really calls into question, among other things, their credibility. And I don't like to see it. I wish that they wouldn't continue to throw that shit around. I don't think it helps anything.
Well, I think that that is, I can't disagree with anything you said. I would put some of it into stronger terms, as I've been known to do. I think it's important to point out, in as far as this goes, that what I've seen over many years is that when you get large groups of people on the street, no matter what the reason is, they tend to go nuts.
Same thing with a rock concert. That's why we don't go to them.
Well, I mean, we had. So here's the problem. I don't think that Black Lives Matter or the protests as a result of Mr. Floyd being murdered by a police officer on film has anything to do with the looting that followed many of the protests that went on for several months, kind of died down now. The people that went out to protest was a unique mix of many different races and many different.
But did you say it wasn't triggered because of George Floyd?
No. The protest, the overall peaceful protests that we witnessed over the summer was a result of George Floyd and the pent up tensions regarding, and it's not just race, it's systemic racism in police departments and in the criminal justice system. That's what this is about. And the whatever looting occurred has nothing at all to do with those demonstrations. The people involved in the looting were most likely gangs and criminals to begin with, and they came later. They had nothing to do with the protest.
Well, I think I know what you're saying. In other words, the protests weren't a deliberate attempt. They weren't the ones involved in looting and breaking into buildings, and that wasn't
exactly.
Yeah,
they absolutely were not.
Right. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's not unlike what we've seen in LA, right, where we've had riots in the past where, it's a, what do you want to call it? An opportunity.
But the criminal elements, this weird mass hysteria that I think is a pretty commonly known, psychological thing that happens in large uncontrolled groups. And we've seen it before, and it, in the past, when we saw it in LA after Rodney King, there were protests. Those were actually more along the lines of riots, right? More than protests. But the Black Lives Matter protests, the protests that broke out this summer, those were people that were protesting systemic racism.
Yeah,
period. That's what they were.
The problem is, remember, this was at the heat of an election cycle too, and so what you had was mostly Republicans trying to pin the hypocrisy on the left. Like, for example, there was a soundbite from Kamala Harris where, I'm not quoting it, I'm not reading it, but she basically said something like, "Yes, the anger." These people deserve the right to be angry and protest, and they should continue to do so. something like that. And
right.
that got twisted into, okay, she's not condoning the violence, and she's condoning the violence and she's not speaking out against it, right? And then so all these things get twisted, and and that's the problem. Is
well, it wasn't Democratic political leaders coming out and twisting it. It was Trump, and it was his administration, his spokespeople, and prominent Republican politicians. Once again, using fear mongering and hate, and not look. Everybody should have been touched by the who made up these groups of protesters. These were not just black people. Okay, around the country. You know what it
reminded me of too?
There was a lot of white people in all races involved in the actual protests, and they were all peaceful.
You know what reminded me? So that point is what I'm thinking of. Is in a nutshell, I think the Republicans wanted Democrats to take a stronger stance on the violence part and the property destruction. And what it reminds me of?
Everybody's against that. Everybody's against that.
And it reminds me of Obama.
Favor.
Remember when he would get criticism for not using the term or the phrase, what was it?
Terrorist?
Well, radical Islam or something like that.
Yeah.
And he would refuse to use that, but he would make clear distinctions on what he meant and what he's trying to say. But the Republicans always tried to use that against him. Well, you see, there he goes. He supports it because he won't use the phrase. And it's kind of analogous to, I think, what happened here, which is the Republicans were saying, well, because they're not coming out specifically and speaking out against the violence, that they're supporting it. And it's just more mudslinging. Yeah.
Well, I think I had a feeling that if you and I discussed this, that we would be closer together than we were farther apart on it. And I think most people see it that way. I just thought it might be important to put it out there because I just think, well, listen, here's what Trump said. I don't even need a soundbite.
Do it in your Trump voice.
When I can't. I don't have a good impersonation. But let's see. When the looting starts, the shooting starts. So that was his entire presidential comment on the whole thing. And
yeah, and even things
and
like
good riddance to it. Good riddance. Fuck off. Goodbye.
Well, remember when I think the day after the riot at the Capitol, he made that speech that we both said it looked like he was being held hostage. But before that, the day of, I think he still had access to his Twitter, and he put out something like, "Hey, I don't stand for violence. Go home, but you're great. Thank you. You're special.
You're special people."
Yes. I mean, he always does that, where it's like a sign of he's just not intelligent, or is that's really the underlying tone there that that's what he really wants to say is, "Hey, thank you. You're supporting me. Go get those fuckers." But I can't come out and be that explicit about it.
Right. And listen, all through the whole look, you know what? I think I'm going to just not go where I was going to go. I don't want to quote any more shit Trump said, because repeating it is the next best thing to him getting a chance to say it again. So
where do we go?
I think we all know, right? Where do we go from here? Listen, this is a chance for Republicans to do what they always say they want to see done, but they're not going to do it, Trav. That's the problem. I can guarantee it. Mark my words.
What do we need? We need more laws. We need.
No, we don't need more. We need a legislature that is trying to do things for the public good, right?
Can we get rid of one or the other? Can we get rid of, say, the House or the Senate?
No, you can't.
Why not?
It's the best legislature in the world. Are you kidding? This is the United States. We know that. And we know that our government works better than all the other democracies put together. Huh?
It's the Untied states.
Yeah. The way that's just phenomenal. That's the Trump legal team.
Do we really think that, governments are capable of solving the problems?
Well, I mean, yes, it's a matter of will, right? It's a matter of will. And I think that unfortunately we're seeing that that, not much is going to change as far as what the Republicans are going to do. I mean, it's just the party's been ruptured, right, for a long time, and it's not.
And we've given them a do not resuscitate order.
Well, we should. I mean, look, I think from here, here's what I think the Democrats should do. They should redouble their efforts to increase their lead in the Senate and make sure that they can attain a significant majority for the foreseeable future, and give the Republican Party a chance to reform and regroup. They're in the process of burning themselves down. Stupid choices like Kevin McCarthy has made this week to support radical, lying, white supremacist, conspiracy theory, QAnon fuckheads is going to be
Jewish lasers.
The death of them. Yeah. I mean, anti-Semitic much? I mean, they are so worried about, they think that they've got a chance to take this all back in 2022. And that's what they think. And they are desperately,
are they wrong to think that when you look at history?
Yeah, they're wrong. They're wrong to think that because, I mean, let them think it. I think as long as they think that, it only increases the chance that people see this shit for what it's been, for what Trump was, for what Marjorie Taylor.
But see, don't you think that is, a dangerous argument to have, because the Marjorie Taylor Greenes were sent there by the people who you would think the way she does, which is why, how she got sent there.
I don't think that's the case. I think that the Republican Party thinks that they need the remnants of the Trump army for them to regain power. I don't think that that's true. I think they're wrong.
I do too. And remember that they thought they could do this without Trump to begin with. So it is interesting how they've rallied behind him over the last 4 years, but
they're going to regret that.
I do think that you're going to see more of an exodus. I think that you're going to see more and more distance themselves from him in the coming months and years. I think so.
Yeah. I mean, so again, my game plan for my team, my tribe, is to stay focused and try to increase your majority in the Senate, and for sure keep the House, and get some of the things done that we think need to be done. And
which I think doing it with term limits would be good, because then you are fleshing out and recycling and purging, I guess is the word I'm searching for.
Can I say that you might notice I'm looking away from the screen. Imposing term limits, opponents argue, would remove the power from voters in favor of an arbitrary law. I did
that argument's completely shut down when you consider we have it at the executive level. The voters have an opportunity every 4 years. And by the way, to cast their vote and select who serves in office.
For the president.
Yes.
Yeah, for the president.
Right. The same should be true for Congress.
Well, again.
And we talk about qualifications for the president. I said this to you before. We need
qualifications for the Congress.
We need qualifications for the voters.
No.
Yes.
No, we don't.
Do you want people who believe in Jewish alien Star Wars starting fires to promote climate change to be allowed to vote? Come on.
I do not advocate any type of voter suppression whatsoever.
I bet you I could get you to come around on that.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so, because here's the truth of it. The more people that vote, the better chance that the not Republicans have, whoever they are, of winning elections. Okay?
Well, that's would obviously
vote in mass. Republicans lose every time,
and I would say that's good.
The key.
That is good if it wasn't for the fact that means the Democrats are the controlling power. Because they're a fucking
more
disaster.
Independents. There are more independents than there are Democrats.
Let's hope so. Well, that's what we're going to need to write this shit.
That's what I'm hearing. So, yeah, but either way, no matter what, when people vote, Democrats win.
And America loses, folks. We had enough fun for today.
Yep, this is good. This is good. I'm hoping everybody that this week will be an even better week than this last week was.
How could it
it's
not
hard,
be?
Hard to imagine.
Another week with Biden and Kamala, the removal of Trump.
Yeah,
Life
well, I mean, look, they're just every day they're single-handedly undoing the fucking long national nightmare that we've gone through. So
exactly, he's burning through these pens with his executive orders.
Right.
So we've elected him to do. He's got a fucking mandate.
That's right. He's not making law. He's correcting bad policy.
Exactly. He's our savior in chief.
That is right off of my daily Democrat talking.
I knew it.
Spreadsheet.
This is the first time publicly that we've got you on record as acknowledging that.
Oh my God! All right, so really, hey everybody, have a great week. All right,
bye.
See ya. Bye.